Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. And our guest this morning is Dr. Muda Yusuf. Dr. Muda Yusuf is the former Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry and is the CEO of Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise. A fine morning to you, Dr. Yusuf.
Yeah, good morning, Uncle Yori. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Indeed. Thank you very much, sir. Good morning. Well, it's your forte. We're in your area. We're looking at setting the agenda for the incoming administration. Of course, we're talking about the economy in this sense. There's so many things that are linked, sort of tied up with the economy. For instance, the Nation this morning that I have in front of me is reporting that, quoting President Buhari, we borrowed for projects to create wealth. And that's against, as you know, a lot of observations, shall I not say complaints, that so many loans are being taken and are being left for the incoming administration. But what would you think would be the sort of the key, the most important aspect or aspects, it can't be one, of the economic agenda the incoming administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu should be engaging with?
Well, the key issues as far as the economy is concerned, and I must say that expectations are quite high on matters of the economy from the incoming administration. As you all know, there are serious challenges with respect to, the cost of living.
Yes.
Talking now about inflation and the impact on the welfare of the people, cost of living. That's a major. And the ability of businesses to retain jobs and to create new ones. There are issues around the cost of energy costs, which is affecting both the citizens at the household level, SMEs, and even the large enterprises. There are issues around what you just mentioned, the sustainability of our debt profile. And, it has reached a very frightening level, and people are wondering how the new administration was going to cope with the challenges of debt sustainability. There are concerns around our exchange rates, foreign exchange management, the exchange rate situation, and all the challenges around foreign exchange policy. There are issues around having a level playing field in the economy. Because sometimes, and this happened a lot in the land, becomes too transactional. It makes it difficult for a level playing field to be created, such that people get rewarded not because they are very good entrepreneurs, but because they have contacts, they have connections. So we need to see an economy that, according to the quality of your entrepreneurial skill, according to the quality of your sense of enterprise. So these are basically the challenges that we are faced with. Of course, there are many more issues of security, insecurity, and all of that. Those ones exist.
Indeed.
But talking about the key priorities in tackling some of these problems, I think the starting point is for us to have a good economic team. I imagine that by now, the president-elect will have at least zeroed in on members of the economic team, so that we have an economy that is managed by those who have good knowledge of the economy, by those who have good knowledge of the investment environment. Because economic management is not only about the theoretical understanding, it is also about understanding the empirical aspects of economy, of business, so that we are relating the theories to the reality on the ground. So the quality of economic team and quality of economic governance is very right people in the right places. Of course, this is not mutually exclusive with the principle of federal character. There are quality people across the country in all the states. So whichever nominees are coming from the state must be people who have competence to add value to the governance process. Secondly, there are some agencies of government, ministries that require good technical understanding of what is going on in those ministries, so that we don't have somebody sitting as a minister who doesn't even understand the key issues in that ministry. Because if you don't have a proper understanding, you cannot provide the right kind of leadership in that ministry. The same is true of some critical agencies of government that requires critical understanding, deep understanding of what the agency is doing. So that apart from having the management skill, you must have also the technical understanding. That way, the key heads of the MDAs and ministries will be able to bring value into governance so that you have quality governance. Because Nigerians are yearning for quality governance. Buhari has done his best, but of course, it can be better.
Indeed.
So we are seeking for an improvement over that. Okay. So those are the general principles.
Indeed.
General philosophy that should govern the management of the economy. We can come to specifics later.
Indeed. And as you said, there are quite a few more, but these are, the general sort of outlook of the things. Now, before I come to that which will probably relate to most of our viewers, which is going to be the whole question of the cost of living that you cited earlier on, I wanted to quickly touch on something that you've also said about a level playing field in business. Now, you would be in a very good position to appreciate this being the CEO of the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise. Now, the Dangote refinery is a private enterprise and it's the most recent in memory. It was only inaugurated yesterday. Now, we had people on yesterday who pointed out that much everybody is proud of we having the largest refinery, one train refinery it was referred to. I'm not going to go into that. But the question of the assistance that Dangote got from the government, I don't think anybody is quarreling with that, but you did speak about the level playing field. One doesn't know all the details, but one understands that the Dangote operation actually, benefited from an official forex rate and other things, even though Nigeria itself has also invested in the Dangote plant. Is that the kind of thing you are talking about, where some businesses get, a fillip, a push, a major assist, and the other people are left to fend for themselves? How is that the kind of thing you were talking about, for example?
Well, yes, maybe in a partial sense, yes. But I do know that, this is one of the issues, because it's a policy problem. It's not a Dangote problem.
No.
Because we have multiple exchange rates. And the official exchange rate is around 460, 462, according to the central bank. And one of the reasons some of us have criticized the current exchange rate, foreign exchange policy regime, is that it doesn't provide for a level playing field. So if people who are beneficiaries, of course, Dangote is not the only beneficiary. I don't have details as to how he gets his foreign exchange, but I know some other people also get foreign exchange at the official rate. But the challenge is that official rate, it cannot go round. So there's a lot of discretion that is brought into the management of forex. And once you create a room for discretion to be exercised in economic management, you immediately create a problem of level playing field. The playing field cannot be level because somebody is sitting somewhere who is exercising discretion, who is determining who should get what. That is not good generally for the economy. Whether you are talking of exchange rate, whether you are talking of allocation of PMS, whether you are talking of allocation of diesel, whether there are so many things in the economy, even in the regulatory environment. Sometimes you don't have a level playing field. So it's a general policy issue. So I don't want us to single out Dangote.
Yes, I didn't really intend to, but thank you very much for putting perspective on it.
Once we have an incentive, for instance, the incentive should go to everybody. And I've heard the NNPC and some other people say that any other refiner that is coming on board, the government and the NNPC is ready to also provide some support. I've heard that said. But what is important is that whatever policies or whatever incentives government is providing has to be available to everybody across board, so that it is not company-specific incentive. It has to be sector-specific incentive or industry-specific incentive. If you are given incentives to broadcasting, for instance, it has to be available to everybody in broadcasting.
Yeah. So that's one of the challenges that are going to.
If we are giving incentives to those who are refining, so that is the principle. Yes, that should be the general principle.
So it's a policy matter then.
And that is what the level playing field, and that is what can make a free enterprise economy work. Yes, it is a policy matter. It is a policy matter, and it is something that should apply to all sectors of the economy.
But the problem, the challenge, Dr. Yusuf, is that you've just said that even though it is a policy issue and not singling out Dangote, but just stating the facts, there's not enough to go around. So if anybody comes along, well, not so much anybody, but if people come along, because of the straightforward economic fact that you've stated, that there's not enough to go around for the kind of assist that refinery project got. So how do we get out of this quagmire into an area where we don't have this kind of a situation where markets are just as imperfect as these policies are making them?
No, you see, the point is that is why I talk about discretion. As much as possible, we have to remove discretion from economic management. If, for instance, you had a foreign exchange market that is very transparent, that is market reflective, and that is why we talk about market mechanism or market forces. If you have that, it will be available to everybody. Like in many other climes, if you need foreign exchange, you don't need to go and be queuing central bank. You don't need to go and be begging anybody in the
Well, we do apologize. The sound is drifting in and out. This seems to be a longer than usual stretch of silence. But we're speaking with Dr. Muda Yusuf, in case you've just joined us. He's CEO of the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise, and is the former DG of LCCI, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And he's talking there about the first major point, really, which is the providing a level playing field for business. And Dr. Yusuf was just telling us that it's most desirable to move discretion from economic affairs, by which he meant, treatments, special boosts, special assistances. That is going to be as a result of discretion. There are people who will decide if anybody needs that kind of treatment. But as he was saying, it should be sector-wide, whatever it is. If it's the TV sector, then everybody who comes into that sector should be able to benefit from it. If it is in case of power, as we're talking about now, this is what Dr. Muda Yusuf was just explaining, and we've lost him. And I intend to actually still ask him about the one that is going to be most important to all of us, which is you know, it might not be the most important at the end of the day, but it certainly is one of the most visible, talking about the cost of living. And Dr. Yusuf had
Yes.
said, aha, okay, you're back. Okay, Dr. Yusuf.
Oh, sorry. Internet issues, my apologies.
Yes. So, well, I don't know, maybe I could go on to, I really want you to sort of drill down a bit on the cost of living, because as you said at the top of the program, expectations are high. And there are people who are knowledgeable who have said they don't admire any president. Yes, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but stepping into that job, it looks like it's as complex as you stated at the beginning, and that it's going to take some doing.
Yes, it is. It is generally. I mean, nobody will envy any person taking over at this time, because it's quite challenging. But I believe that where there's the will to do the right things, I believe that if we're able to remove self or personal interest in governance, it will be easier to deal with some of these things.
Well,
now, cost of living.
Sorry, sir. This then links back a bit, in my mind, to what you said about we've got to find a way to remove this question of discretion. But in the meantime, Dr. Yusuf, Mazi Okorafor has called in. So let me get his question in, and you then continue. Good morning to you, Mazi Okorafor in Aruchuku.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Dr. Su. You see, what in Nigeria today, Nigerian economy needs total overhauling for the incoming government. Let us leave that slogan of importing content and exporting. Price control board, we should try as much as we price control board come even, because it will help us. Because in other countries, like let's this one or the Arab countries, they have a price control board. Nobody increases the prices of anything more than what the government has stated. It will help us. And good living wages or salaries is good, because you cannot control that collect 30,000 naira as a salary, and you're using that 30,000 naira to buy a bag of rice. Does it make sense? And you cannot go to the market today in Nigeria with 2,000 naira and prepare a pot of soup that will last for 3 days or 4 days. It's not that. Now, the way forward, the economic team that you should be coming on was the experts. That's what I mean by experts. People that are ready to know the day-to-day activities of Nigeria, week-to-week activities, to make sure that even though you increase salary, that will not solve for that. All the agricultural sectors, let us have all this day-to-day food. Produce in Nigeria, not be imported. It will help us to move economically. If we try to do that one, that is another question mark that Nigeria cannot handle. Everything, because all the variables, the economic team knows it. It will make sure those variables are in focus. Good morning, Mazi Okorafor from Good morning, Samuel.
Thank you very much, Mazi Okorafor. So, Dr. Yusuf, you can continue, please, on talking about the cost of living. Mazi Okorafor has thrown in a price control mechanism. You tell us how that could work, if indeed that should also be brought into it. The last time I heard about the price control mechanism, I think, was back in the day during the Nigerian Civil War.
Yeah, the price control mechanism is not something that can work in our own context here. I remember the days of the essential commodities.
That's right.
It was the military. I think it was even this the Buhari regime that took over, and they were breaking into people's shops and doing all manner of things. Flogging people. People were queuing to buy rice, to buy milk at the control price. Those things are not the normal things to do. What we need to do is to deal with the fundamentals that drive the price. And the fundamentals that drive price is demand and supply. So if the price is high, then there's an issue with the supply side. So that is why in dealing with the problem of high cost of living, we need to look at the supply side factors. What are the factors that are making things expensive? Because those who are even selling at a very high price, unless they are monopolies, if they are not monopolies and they are selling at a high price, it is because that is the cost. That is the cost to them to be able to bring the product to the market. So we need to see how we can reduce the cost of these things. And one of the key elements, which I've mentioned, we need to see how we can bring down our exchange rates.
All right. One moment,
That
Dr.
is possible.
One moment, please, Dr. Yusuf. I want to make room for George, who has called in from Lagos. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to Mr. Yusuf. Uncle Yori, talking about our economic policies, I would want to plead with the president-elect not to be sentimental about the theme he's going to use for the economy. It's very, very critical. Number one, the first place he should visit is the central bank. The board of the central bank should be completely dissolved and replaced. I said it at a forum, and somebody said, no, you cannot just replace everybody, that there will be a vacuum. There will be no vacuum. There are people with financial backgrounds that can run the system, whether they meet people there or not. The system is always there. The way and manner that MTLA and his group has run our monetary system in this country is nothing to write home about, and there must be no sentiment about retaining any of them in the new dispensation. Otherwise, we'll be taking a risk, the consequences of which will not be good for our system. Then policies.
Yes.
Policies. People like your guest that you're speaking, I've been listening to him for a very long time. And the organization he manages is a very critical one in policy formation for our economy. I don't know what role such people will be playing in this government.
Okay.
But I think there should be a deliberate policy to put in people who are best suited for positions, irrespective of where they come from.
Well, thank
That's
you.
the way I see it, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. George.